Well, we have things that we could sanction. We have very draconian sanctions, and we'll see what happens. Right now, the strait is open. A lot of boats are coming through. People aren't reporting that, and that may slow down a little bit at some point. But right now, a lot of boats are coming through. The naval blockade has been extremely effective. Zero, I mean, literally while it's up, and it's been for quite a while, except for a couple of little pauses where we opened it purposely with a deal. But the deal didn't terminate, the deal didn't turn out to be what they said, when they tell us one thing and they do another. But the blockade has been 100% successful. No boats have gotten into Iran, but they are getting in for other places. But we'll see. We're going to see what happens. It'll either be extremely good and oil prices are going to drop like a rock, or we'll continue to do exactly what we're doing. They were talking about $350 a barrel, and it's today 84, 85. And we are getting a lot of oil out. But the other thing that's happened is people have found other
President Trump addressing there. We did get a little term limit in there as well, Admiral Stavridis. We don't have to talk about term limits. But when it comes to what is happening in Iran, right, we also have the UAE suspending at this point all trade with Iran. Iran's foreign minister has said that the U.S. blockade had contributed to shortage and price increases. So there's some evidence, right, that this economic pressure is working, and that, sources tell CNN, is really becoming the focus for the administration, not so much the military campaign. Yes. The question, though, how long do you believe the hardline IRGC can actually wait out that pressure?
Months, but not years, and that's the good news for the administration. They'd love to get this over with in a matter of weeks, but that, unfortunately, is not how sanctions work. It's not how blockades work, not how embargoes work. They take time to build economic pressure. But I think that is the president's best option at this point, is patience, keep the blockade in place, put economic pressure on Iran, get them back to the table that way, and force them to open the strait. It's a tale of two blockades. They're blockading the Strait of Hormuz. We're blockading their coastline. We're going to have to wait them out if we want to get them back to the table. Months, but not years.
Admiral James Stavridis, always appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Thanks, Erica.
Joining us now, Republican Congressman Don Bacon of Nebraska. He's a U.S. Air Force combat veteran who retired as a brigadier general and is now in the House representing Nebraska and on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, Trump is essentially saying that now the strategy is, giving Iran the old talk to the hand treatment. What do you make of this? Is this what you would advise him to do?
I think this is a better strategy than what we have had. The blockade is probably the easier thing for us to enforce. Right now, we've been able to choke almost all of the traffic going in and out of Iran. That's good. Their economy is really struggling. It's going to really weaken the regime. However, I would say that Iran had been fairly effective up until now, shutting off about 90% of the flow of traffic. But we're starting to see more traffic get in and out of there, and that's a good thing. The problem, I think, with the president, early in this fight, he overpromised. It's going to be a quick fight. And then he tried to go it alone without trying to bring in Democrats or trying to involve Congress. And you can't fight a war in a partisan manner. It's got to be a bipartisan fight. And he should have anticipated more of a longer-term fight. And I really think this is handicapping him now because the Democrats do not want to work with the president on this. And this needs to be a bipartisan effort. I have to remind folks, Iran has killed 1,000 Americans. They were the leading exporter of terror. They had 1,000 ballistic missiles. They were trying to produce a nuclear weapon. Some action had to be taken, if not with this president, maybe previous presidents. But this could not be allowed to continue like this. But I think the president is onto a strategy of blockade. I also recommend say less. There should be fewer people talking on this because there's contradictory messages going out there. Speak softly, but carry a big stick.
So, as I don't need to tell you, even though you're not running for re-election, the war is very unpopular. It is weighing heavily on whether or not many of your colleagues are going to be re-elected in the fall. Barrett Marson is a Republican strategist in Arizona. He told CNN, quote, "There is one person in this country who doesn't cut gas prices, just one. And unfortunately, that one person kind of controls our fate," unquote. At some point, do you think Republicans are going to be forced to really distance themselves from Trump, given how unpopular both he and the war and the ensuing high gas prices are?
Well, there's some reasons why this war is unpopular. I'd like to address that first. First, he didn't try to bring Democrats on board at all. And you cannot fight a war in a partisan manner. You know, Ronald Reagan would have Tip O'Neill over, and they would try to come up with a bipartisan thing. I do believe there would be Democrats would have been more supportive if the president made an effort, because Iran was the leading exporter of terror. They killed 1,000 Americans. They had those deadly roadside bombs in Iraq that killed over 600 Americans, for example. So the case was there, but the president tried to go it alone. And then it was going to be a quick fight. We're going to make a deal tomorrow. We're going to make a deal next week. A deal's imminent. I think these things have undermined his effort. But we have to go back. What do we need to do now? If we stop this now, Iran wins.
Yeah.
And Iran could still produce a nuclear weapon. Maybe not as soon as it could have, but with China's or Russia's help or North Korea's help, they can rebuild this capability. And they will still be the leading exporter of terror. So I think the president has to keep this blockade on and find he's got to, in the end, he's got to prevail in this fight. Because if he doesn't, we're going to have a worse threat on our hands down the road. But he's sort of put us in a spot where he's backed into a corner with this being an unpopular war. And it goes back from the beginning. This had to be a bipartisan effort, not a one-man band.
Yeah.
That's what it became.
Joining me now, Army Colonel Peter Mansour. He's a former aide to General David Petraeus and a professor of military history at Ohio State University. It's good to have you with us. So when we look at where things stand, President Trump's inconsistency comes as Qatar is now voicing support for Oman's talks with Iran. This despite threats from President Trump to ban Oman over the Hormuz dispute. And notably, those negotiations were a requirement of the MOU, which the president once hailed. Do these threats from Trump risk excluding the U.S. from the shaping of any agreement on the Strait?
The threats are absolutely not helpful. They're typical Trump bluster. He doesn't like being excluded from these negotiations, and he doesn't know what Oman and Iran are agreeing to. And if it includes their control over the Strait of Hormuz and the ability of Iran to exact tolls, he's not going to have any part of that. And thus he has struck out in the way he knows with typical bluster and threats that probably will not be acted upon.
In terms of bluster, he also posted this image, I think we can put it up for you, of the Strait of Hormuz, labeling it as new U.S. territory. How much does that further complicate things?
It doesn't complicate things at all. Everyone knows this is not true. I think it's pushback against Iran, which claims the Strait as its own territory. And he says, okay, well, two can play that game. We'll claim it as well. In fact, it's an international waterway. I think all sides need to agree on that. But that's one of the problems with these negotiations. Iran wants to control the Strait. And until it agrees that it's an international waterway, I don't think we're going to come to any sort of diplomatic solution to this crisis.
In the Oval Office yesterday, Trump reiterated his goal for this war was to keep Iran from having a nuclear weapon. In terms of what you see, is the U.S. military strategy right now doing anything to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon?
Well, it's done quite a bit. I mean, it's hit the Iranian nuclear facilities, its manufacturing plants. It has really set back its nuclear program. Ironically, I think negotiations on the nuclear program are probably easier at this point than negotiations on opening the Strait. Iran has made it its goal in life to control the Strait of Hormuz, which it views as its only leverage against the United States and our allies to prevent another attack on Iran. The nuclear program, the Iranian nuclear program, isn't going anywhere quickly. We all know that they want to gain a nuclear weapon eventually, but that can be stymied in the future by further action.
I also wanted to ask you about the Houthis, so a proxy of Iran, right, in Yemen, now claiming an attack on a Saudi oil refinery. There have been clashes intensifying in the Bab al-Mandab Strait. Are you concerned about a new front opening?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the ways that we were able to sort of ease the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz was to have Saudi pump oil to its terminal on the Red Sea and then move through the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb and get it to Asia. That's been closed down now, and it is created a significant blockage. The only way to get that oil out now is through the Suez Canal, which has also been hit by the Houthis. So this is a problem and a very unwelcome development.
Yeah. Colonel, always appreciate your perspective. Thank you.